Imagine you are a caveman living in the heart of the last great ice age. It is freezing cold, a type of bone-chilling frost that bites through your skin and settles deep into your very marrow, making every movement a struggle against the elements. The sun has been gone for hours, leaving behind a vast, oppressive darkness that feels heavy against your chest like a physical weight you cannot escape. Your dinner is a piece of half-burned mystery meat, scorched on the outside and raw in the middle, held over the flames on a sharpened stick you carved yourself from a fallen branch. There is no Wi-Fi to distract you from the silence, no calendar notifications reminding you of meetings you do not want to attend, no rent to pay, and no taxes to worry about. Honestly, in this moment, life is kind of peaceful, albeit brutal, short, and incredibly dangerous. You are part of a small tribe, huddled together in the mouth of a limestone cave that smells of damp earth, old animal fur, and the metallic tang of blood from a recent kill. The only light comes from the flickering orange heart of the fire, casting long, dancing shadows against the uneven walls that look like ancient spirits watching over you. You do not have words for stress or anxiety, only for hunger, cold, and safety. The world outside is a wilderness of predators and ice, where every shadow could be a cave lion and every gust of wind could bring a blizzard that lasts for days. You are living in the rawest form of the human experience, where survival is the only metric of success and every sunrise is a victory. There are no clocks to tell you when to sleep, only the movement of the stars and the changing of the seasons. You are a creature of the earth, bound to the rhythm of the fire and the necessity of the hunt. This was the reality for our ancestors for hundreds of thousands of years, a long, slow crawl through the darkness of prehistory, lit only by the sparks of a shared campfire and the warmth of huddling together against the infinite, uncaring night. You feel the weight of the silence, the crackle of the wood, and the heavy breathing of your kin as you all wait for the dawn to break the icy grip of the world. Except for one constant, stinging problem that disrupts your prehistoric peace and makes your eyes burn with every single breath you take. The fire, your only source of warmth and protection, keeps blowing thick, acrid smoke directly into your face. Every time the wind shifts even slightly, you find yourself coughing like a broken goat, your lungs seizing as they try to reject the carbon and ash that fill the air. Your eyes water uncontrollably, the salt stinging your cheeks as you squint through the haze, trying to see the faces of your companions. Your friends, sitting just out of the smoke's path, laugh at your misfortune, their voices echoing in the cramped, soot-stained space of the cave. Even a nearby wolf, lingering at the edge of the light, seems to judge you silently with its glowing yellow eyes, wondering why you stay so close to the choking fumes. This was not just a minor inconvenience, it was a fundamental part of your daily existence. If you lived near a prehistoric campfire, you were not just occasionally smelling smoke, you were living in it, breathing it, and wearing it like a second skin. Your clothes, made of cured animal hides, smelled like smoke. Your matted hair smelled like smoke. The very walls of your cave were stained black with the soot of 1,000 fires, a permanent record of your struggle for warmth. Your entire identity was permeated by the scent of burning wood and dried leaves. Every single night, humans sat around these fires, inhaling the byproduct of their survival because the alternative was far worse. Smoke was annoying, yes, but being a predator's midnight snack or freezing to death in the snow was significantly more annoying. You endured the cough and the tears because the fire was life, even if it was a life lived in a constant, swirling cloud of gray smog that never seemed to leave you alone. You learned to breathe shallowly, to squint your eyes, and to accept the soot as a part of your being, never realizing that this constant exposure was setting the stage for a discovery that would change the world. But as the generations passed and the fire became a permanent fixture of human life, people began to notice that not all smoke is created equal. We are a species defined by our dangerously curious nature, and in the absence of formal science, we turned to the only method we had: trial and error. Imagine the scene. a group of early humans gathering wood for the night, picking up whatever they can find in the surrounding forest. They are not just picking up dry branches, they are experimenting with everything the earth provides. One person throws a specific oily plant onto the fire, perhaps just to see how it burns or if it will keep the insects away. Immediately, the cave fills with a thick white plume that smells like burning rubber. Everyone begins to cough, their throats feeling like they have been scraped with sharp flint. Nothing happens other than the irritation, and that plant is quickly marked as bad wood to be avoided in the future. But then, another person throws a different plant onto the embers, maybe a flowering herb they found near the river or a branch heavy with aromatic resin. This time, the cough is still there, but the sensation that follows is entirely different. The smell is pleasant, even intoxicating, and the air feels thicker, more meaningful. There was no chemistry, no biology, and certainly no warning labels to tell them what was happening to their brains. There was no one to say, "Do not burn this specific bush unless you want to see your ancestors dancing in the clouds." It was a raw, sensory exploration of the world around them. They began to notice patterns that would eventually form the basis of all ancient knowledge. This leaf helps dull the pain of a broken bone after a fall. This bark tastes like ash, but stops the shivering of a fever. This particular smoke makes the heavy weight of the day feel a little lighter, and the stories around the fire feel a little more real. They were accidentally discovering the psychoactive and medicinal properties of the plant kingdom, one fire at a time, documenting the effects in the shared memory of the tribe, passing down the knowledge of which plants brought peace and which brought pain. And then, at some pivotal point in the deep, unrecorded history of our species, someone probably had a very strange and transformative thought that would echo through the ages. Wait, why does that smoke make me feel different? This was the tiny, flickering moment that may have changed the entire trajectory of human culture and consciousness. Imagine the realization dawning on a caveman as he inhales the fumes of a specific herb that was tossed into the fire to keep the mosquitoes at bay. He is not just coughing anymore. He is watching the way the firelight plays on the ceiling, seeing shapes and stories that were not there just a moment ago. He might turn to his tribe and say, in whatever proto-language they use to communicate, "The moon is speaking to me," or "the fire is telling me where the deer are hiding for tomorrow's hunt." Suddenly, the group has questions. They are not looking at the smoke as a nuisance anymore. They are looking at it as a gateway to another world. This was the birth of intentionality, the moment when a byproduct of survival became a tool for exploration. Before cigarettes, before cigars, before pipes, and long before the modern tobacco industry, there was just a human being and a fire being dangerously curious about the world. They were not trying to start a habit or build an industry. They were trying to understand a feeling that they could not explain. They were discovering that the plants around them held secrets that could only be unlocked by the transformative power of the flame. This was not about smoking in the way we think of it today. It was about the first time a human intentionally breathed in the essence of a plant to change their internal state and see the world through a different lens. It was a discovery of the mind, found in the middle of a desperate struggle for physical survival in a world that did not care if they lived or died. This moment of clarity, born from the haze of the fire, marked the beginning of a new relationship with nature, one where the plants were not just food or fuel, but keys to a deeper understanding of existence. Once humans notice something that is useful, strange, or powerful, they do not simply let it go and forget about it. They repeat the action, they teach it to their children, and eventually they turn it into a ritual that defines their culture. This is where the act of inhaling smoke begins to move from a prehistoric accident to a deliberate and respected cultural practice. Someone in the tribe would have remembered the specific leaf that made everyone feel calm after a long day of hunting, or the root that made the warriors feel brave before a big chase across the plains. They would say to the younger members, "Last time we burned that plant, the old man said he saw a deer spirit in the flames, and then we actually found a herd the next morning." To a group of hungry, cold people, That was not just a coincidence. It was a sign from the spirits. It was powerful, and it was necessary. This is how smoke became more than just a byproduct of warmth. It became a tool, a medicine, and a deep mystery. They began to treat certain plants with a level of respect that bordered on the sacred, learning where they grew and when they were most potent. They were not saying, "Gentlemen, let us enjoy a premium prehistoric blend," but they were certainly beginning to curate their fires with intention. They learned the best times to harvest these plants, how to dry them so they would produce the most potent smoke, and which combinations led to the best results for the tribe. The accidental inhalation of the campfire was being refined into a deliberate ceremony that brought the group together. The smoke was becoming a bridge between the physical world they inhabited and the spiritual world they were beginning to imagine in the shadows of the cave. It was the start of a legacy that would span continents and millennia, all born from the simple, profound observation that fire could transform a common leaf into a powerful feeling. This transition from accident to ritual was the foundation of what would become a global phenomenon, rooted in the shared experience of the tribe around the glowing embers of a sacred fire. We do not have to rely solely on our imagination to understand this ancient practice. The earth itself holds the physical proof of our ancestors' curiosity. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for ancient smoking comes from the rugged, wind-swept landscapes of Central Asia. Archaeologists exploring burial sites in the Pamir Mountains discovered ancient wooden burners that date back approximately 2,500 years. These were not just random bowls used for cooking. They were sophisticated tools designed for a very specific purpose. Inside these burners, scientists used modern technology to find chemical signatures of cannabis, specifically with high levels of THC, the compound responsible for its psychoactive effects. This was not wild hemp that someone accidentally sat on or used for rope. The evidence suggests these plants were specifically chosen and cultivated for their potency. Picture the scene: a cold, high-altitude landscape, a tribe gathered for a funeral or a sacred rite to honor a fallen leader. They would place hot stones inside these wooden burners and then scatter the dried cannabis on top, creating a concentrated, heavy cloud of smoke for everyone to breathe in together. To these people, this was not about getting high for entertainment. It was a deeply serious and spiritual ritual. It was a way to communicate with the dead, to honor the spirits of the mountains, or to seek guidance from the divine in times of trouble. The smoke was a medium for the soul, a way to transcend the physical body and enter a state of higher consciousness. This discovery shows us that by the time of the Silk Road, smoking was already a highly developed practice with deep social and spiritual roots that connected people across vast distances. It was not a new invention of the modern age. It was the continuation of a tradition that had likely been passed down through the smoke of 1,000 earlier campfires, evolving from an accident into a cornerstone of human culture that bridged the gap between the living and the eternal. This is the story of how humans discovered smoking, a journey that began not with a commercial product, but with a profound and life-changing accident. To truly understand it, we have to look back at the most important invention humans never really invented: fire. Fire gave us everything we needed to survive: warmth, light, cooked food, and protection from the dark. But it also gave us the opportunity to experiment with the very air we breathe. The first humans who intentionally breathed in plant smoke did not think they were starting a global industry or a controversial habit that would last for thousands of years. They were simply curious beings living in a world full of mysteries they could not yet explain. They noticed that the smoke from a burning bush could change the way they felt, and in their world, that was nothing short of a miracle. From the freezing caves of the Ice Age to the ritualistic burners of ancient mountain tribes, the act of smoking has always been tied to our fundamental desire to transcend our immediate reality and find something deeper. It began as an accident of survival and evolved into a tool for the mind, the body, and the spirit. Today, we live in a world of warning labels, tobacco shops, and complex regulations, but the core of the story remains exactly the same. It is the story of humans being dangerously curious about the world around them. We are the only species on this planet that plays with fire, and we are the only species that has learned to breathe it in to change our perspective. That first moment of curiosity, that first intentional breath in a dark, cold cave, was a tiny spark that helped light the way for the complex, ritual-driven creatures we have become. It proves that even the most mundane accidents, like smoke blowing in your face, can lead to the most profound shifts in the human experience, echoing through history long after the fire has gone out. We are the children of the smoke, forever seeking the next discovery in the embers of our curiosity, forever looking for the meaning hidden in the clouds we create.